Hey everybody, this is James.
Marco.
Nabil.
And Mikey.
And this is the Movie Palace podcast number 201. Today we are going to be reviewing the new Danny Boyle film, 28 years later. Let's get into it.
There were so many dead. Infected and non-infected alike.
That's why our home is so precious.
You know, I feel he's a bit young.
He's ready, Jenny.
7, 6, 11, 5.
Once you walk onto that mainland, there's no rescue.
28 years later. It's currently sitting at a 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. The synopsis goes, it's been almost 3 decades since the rage virus escaped a biological weapons laboratory. And now, still in a ruthless enforced quarantine, some have found ways to exist amidst the infected. One such group of survivors live on a small island connected to the mainland by a single, heavily defended causeway. When one of the groups leaves the island on a mission into the dark heart of the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and horrors that have mutated not only the infected, but other survivors as well. This film was directed by Danny Boyle, who did Steve Jobs in 2015, the Trainspotting series, the original one in 96, and T2 in 2017, as well as the film Yesterday in 2019, and brings back Alex Garland, who wrote this film. He also wrote Men in 2022, Civil War in 2024, as well as Warfare in 2025, a string of A24 hits. This film was released on June 20th of this year in theaters, and it stars Alfie Williams as Spike, Jodie Comer as Isla, Aaron Taylor Johnson as Jamie, Ray Fiennes as Dr. Ian Kelson, Edvin Riding as Eric Sundqvist, Chai Lewis Perry as Samson, and Jack O'Connell as Sir Jimmy Crystal. So, let's talk a little bit about the original films before we jump into the new one. I want to start with you, James. What is your history with the first 2 films?
I don't know. I didn't see the first one in theaters. I know that much. I saw it shortly after, though, because there was a lot of hype on that one, and I really liked it, even though it's like a super low-budget zombie flick, but it was kind of like the start of zombie films again back in the day. The second one I saw in theaters with some people that we used to work with at Sears. I remember. Yeah. Figure that one out, boys. And basically, I really liked that one as well. I thought it was a really good sequel, and I did do a rewatch before this one, just because it had been quite some time, and they hadn't been available digitally in like a long time. So it was nice.
They just re-released 28 years later abroad. I think it's just in UK, or not 28 years. I'm sorry, 28 days later abroad on 4K, but it's not available in the US yet.
Yeah, for 4. I don't know if you need this in 4K, honestly. When it was shot on handy cams and all the stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked up a review of it, but I have the Blu-rays though. I watched them on Blu-ray and enjoyed them again.
How about you, Mikey? What is your history? Have you seen 28 Weeks and 28 Days Later?
I've definitely seen both films before. I don't remember if I saw them in the theater, though. Either one of them, actually. Not sure. I just don't remember. I guess it's just been so long since I've seen them. But I did rewatch them recently, and I was talking to James, and actually, I got the second movie mixed up with The Land of the Dead. I actually thought they were reversed, so I thought The Land of the Dead was actually 28 weeks later, and 28 weeks later was Land of the Dead.
He's like, this is George Romero film. What's going on here?
So I'm glad I went back and watched them, because I would have been really confused had I been watching this one and thinking that the other movie was done. So, but yes, I've definitely seen.
Where's the city in the blockade? I don't get it.
So yeah, no, I liked them both. I thought they were good movies. They're both a little different from each other, but still have the kind of the same theme. I liked them both. I thought they were good.
Sure. Okay. How about you, Marco? What were your thoughts on the first 2 films, if you've seen them at all?
Well, I'm old as fuck, Nabil, so I saw both the first movies in theaters, and I'm a pretty good
It came out when I was in high school, for both. You ain't that old.
Well,
right.
Marco was 45 when the original one came out.
Yeah, I was approaching my
shift to the coal mine already.
Right.
I saw the first one in theaters with my brother. We were big Danny Boyle fans, obviously coming off the popularity of Trainspotting. It was cool that he was going to do a zombie movie, and it was the first time, at least that I can remember, where the zombies actually moved fast and not slow. And I was
Yeah.
actually
Right.
Yeah, that was a big
a
deal.
big fan of that. I was like, oh,
yeah.
yeah. I was like, that's different. And kind of like echoing what James said, that the low budget look to it, I think worked. It had a very small budget too. I think only like a couple $1 million, if that. And even now, like when I rewatched it, I also rewatched them leading up to 28 years. It gives it that kind of cult classic look. Like it reminded me a lot of old horror movies, specifically old zombie movies like, you know, Night of the Living Dead and stuff like that, with the graininess and everything. And I like how it really changed the game with like isolating one person, one lone survivor in the middle of all this chaos, and seeing the aftermath of everything and being confused. It's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. So I thought the concept was really unique and really cool. And obviously so many properties have copied that or have done works that are similar to that. I think it still holds up, man. Honestly, it's very much like a horror suspense film. There's not a lot of jump scares to it. When things do happen, it pops up at you and it's significant, and I like that. It's not for waste or for cheap scares. 28 weeks later, I remember I didn't like it at first, man. I remember that I was like, it was
Really?
okay.
I always liked the sequel better.
Did you rewatch it, or did you just kind of?
I rewatched it too. I rewatched both of them.
Okay.
And
Mark was like, no.
my initial reaction when I first saw it in theaters was that the first part of the movie was good leading up until it got to, spoiler alert, and surprise, surprise, the kids, you know, being on their own. I hated that when I was like younger. And I was like, oh my God, can we get over these freaking
Like,
kids are
stupid
annoying.
kids, why are you breaking the rules?
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, dude,
Hey,
come on. I
stop
felt
that.
more, I think really my criticisms, and the criticisms still stand in this aspect, is that the decisions really are just made for the movie, basically, because the script needs it. Whereas in the first movie, they made decisions that felt more natural, more human.
Yeah.
But I give 28 weeks later a pass, and it has grown on me, and I actually really do like it. And I think both movies are very different in a very good way. And I like that they're different. You don't want like one movie and another in the series to be identical. You want them to kind of expand and explore different ways. So this one's kind of more like an action suspense, which I did enjoy. And obviously Jeremy Renner's in it, and I'm a fan of Jeremy Renner, and I thought he did really well in it as well. But overall, I think it adds to the lore of 28 Weeks Later. It sets things up, and it shows like, you know, they were ready to start repopulating everything, and then all of a sudden, like, the virus starts to spread again because of the fault of this group of people. And I forgot that it explains that. I was like, oh, because you got that, full spoilers, by the way, that scene at the end where you see Paris just being invaded by, you know,
Right.
other zombies. And I was like,
It's
I totally
broken
forgot
house.
about that. And that
I thought
actually
it was
worked for
just
me.
them
So-
after a DJ Tiesto rave or something.
So 28 days later, I still think it's a great movie. 28 weeks later has grown on me, and I think it's really good as well too. And I both back to back. I think you'll have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen both films. I did rewatch them as well. I loved the original 28 Days Later. For the longest time, it was like one of my favorite horror films. A rewatch, I feel like it's still a great film, but I don't know if I hold it to the same caliber as I did before. I think there's a lot of originality to it, and that's great. And it does stay kind of unique, but I'm not really looking into wanting to put it back onto like top of my horror films. So.
Nabil, do you think it's because we've seen a lot of that same type of intro or plot now in the last 28 years?
It's been 23, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Hey,
I'd say
for the
that
sake of the pod, James.
I'd say for the sake of that first film, the opening is still like one of the best openings in a horror film, I think, to me. Just coming into a place where he doesn't know what's going on, everybody's gone. I still love how I don't know how Danny Boyle got those shots of like just London empty.
Yeah.
He had like,
Obviously it was like really early in the morning.
minutes to do it at a time.
Yeah.
Like then they would
Just-
supposedly get like good looking girls to distract people to be like, hey, can you? Yeah, they would be like, can you hold like your car for like 10 more minutes?
I mean, it's wild to get those kind of shots, and be able to
I
just
think-
kind of show the emptiness.
I think it's
of London,
because
so.
this is like the start of it, and then we just seen people just do it better. Honestly,
Yeah,
since then,
it's
like
definitely gotten better,
2004's Dawn of the Dead remake is like an example where they took
Yeah.
a lot
True.
of these kind of things with fast zombies and stuff like that, and kind of went from there. And I think it's a overall better movie too, and it's not as dated as this one. This one felt a bit dated. The first one, watching it again.
right?
But overall, I get the vibes you guys got though. It does give me that vibe, especially Mark, like you said, like Night of the Living Dead, kind of that
Yeah.
kind of grimy feel, kind of like our grindhouse kind of feel to it all too.
Mhm.
That scene in the
Almost.
church, just when you see the first two rage zombies and
Mhm.
they're just stuck with their mouth open, I was like,
Yeah, it's
holy
cool
shit,
though. I liked
What's
it.
James doing there?
Yeah, yeah. Hey, why's his pants off again? He's been warned
And
about
then
that twice.
28 weeks later, it comes off. The story is still there. I'm glad that they kind of try to keep everything within the UK, but it is more of kind of like an action horror. You've got the military there. The kids are kind of that through line to help bring the infected into the city and everything, but it doesn't play the same as the original. It's a big departure from it.
It's a better Resident Evil. I know, Nabil.
It is a better Resident Evil if we're comparing
movie, I
to
mean.
that. Yeah, I would agree
Yeah.
with that.
It's
But it's still a good film in its own right. I think just from like a franchise perspective, it's not the same. Like going from 28 days later, 28 weeks later, it's a completely different
So
vibe.
that's what I'm saying. It's so weird for me that I prefer that one actually.
Yeah.
I like that. That director is like a Hispanic director too. He's made some really good stuff too. If you ever look him up.
Yeah, Danny Boyle recommended him when you can do
handpicked
them. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are our thoughts on the original two films. But let's talk a little bit about 28 years later. This kind of continuation and possibly future trilogy of films that we're hoping to do. So let's
At least
just
one more.
Yeah, at least definitely one more is coming through because they filmed two films back to back, and then if they do well, they'll at least finish this trilogy with one more. Let's do a little surface level talk about what we thought about this movie before we go into a full deep dive. I'm gonna go to you, Mikey. What do you think about the film?
I liked it. It didn't blow me away. And it does bring some of the stuff back from, like Marco was saying, it kind of focuses in on just like a single character or a couple characters here instead of having like a group of characters or something like that we get with most zombie movies. We don't have like the cannon fodder, if you will, in these ones here. It's more of a grounded look at just these couple characters. I do like that they had kind of a theme going through it. There's messages throughout, and you get to see this world that's literally 28 years later than the other movies. So it's it's kind of nice how they just kind of bring you into this world quickly into the movie, and then they kind of just let you experience it from a kid's point of view, basically, because a lot of the time you're going through Spike's kind of point of view and his experiences, and it does actually work for me. There's a few things that did not work, but overall they didn't really kind of deter me that much from the movie. So overall, I did like it.
All right. How about you, James? What were your thoughts on the movie?
I actually really liked it. This was definitely not what I expected. I'm kind of there with Mikey. I thought it was going to be more like the first movie, honestly, with the way that it was showing off on trailers with a father-son kind of thing, trying to escape zombies 20, the whole time. But it's
Definitely
very
misdirect.
It has a really good like message to it all, which I really liked. And I thought there was actually some pretty touching moments, which I once again came in and definitely didn't think it would happen either. And then there's a character that has my name that is just kind of strange that it keeps popping up. And the more that I've done research on who he's supposed to like represent, it's kind of disturbing. Just weird. Because at one point I was like, is this got Jimmy like
Jimmy
carved into the dude's chest? I was like, no, I must be looking at it weird. I'm like, no, it is. So surprising, but there was I'm not saying it was humor, like a lot of humor in the movie, but it was a touching tale, and I liked it overall. It was a lot different from what I thought it was going to be. So,
All right. How about yourself, Marco? Any thoughts on the film?
I want to preface this by saying that I saw this movie with James and Mikey, and every time there was a Jimmy reference, I would look over at James.
I mean, Janelli was there as well, by the way, and
Yeah, Janelli was there too.
surprisingly, we was down to see this for some reason.
I was surprised too. I was like, all right, cool. She's getting down. Let's do this. But yeah, we all looked at James and we're like, you want to explain, bro? kind of echoing what these guys said. I agree with Mikey. This one sort of brings it down. It's sort of so far full circle, where the first one you focus on a small group of people. It's kind of slowed down. Second one's fast paced. Third one kind of brings it back. And I think that's where the similarities end. Echoing what James said, it is different. The trailers, don't tell you shit. Truthfully, it is completely different than what the trailers show you. It has, various themes where, you're looking at the survival of this one small village and following at first a father and his child. And it's got, family themes in there as well, too, as well as other significant themes that I don't really want to mention because it might be spoilers, but it really does focus more on the characters rather than the event. And I think that's what makes these set of movies different than other zombie movies, is it just focuses on the people. And there it really won me. I came out of the theater thinking like I liked it, but I wasn't sure what to think of it. But over the last few days, it's really set on me, and it's quite a memorable movie. You really do get to care for these characters and their survivability. I like what they did differently with the infected rage. I guess they call them zombies. I'm going to call them zombies. Whatever.
They do. I think they call them zombies as well.
They eventually call them zombies, yeah.
And the other two, I don't think they ever did.
No. They were just infected, I think.
You see the contrast of how people have evolved in quarantine and how also the zombies have evolved themselves too and learned to survive. And both groups are kind of learning to survive in this catastrophe. And I like that it showed that too. It's something different. I think actually even in 28 Weeks Later, we see that the zombies are kind of evolving and learning to survive in different ways. But overall,
that's where the alphas like the movie. Introduced, right? The second one introduced the alphas, right? Yeah.
Yeah. In a way.
I don't remember that.
I don't know. I think alphas are new to this film.
Yeah.
I don't started think talking about it in the second one.
I don't think they introduced them like. I think you're talking about
all you get is asymptomatic kind of carriers is in the second one.
Yeah, they're asymptomatic, and then the dad does act a little different as well too. He does act kind of like an alpha. He's smarter in 28 Weeks Later, and I think they sort of like take those ideas. It's not confirmed, but this is what I think. Take those ideas and kind of make it evolve into like what we see in this one, which is the alphas. But yeah, overall, Nabil, I think I really liked it, man. And for me, at least, I think it's rewatchable.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I pretty much agree with you guys. I think the film itself, I wasn't sure at the first watching, because I was expecting one thing and got something else. But as I've kind of resat with it and thought about what the film is, it's essentially a coming of age story to an extent. This kid is going through a lot and what the world is with his family and the challenges that he's facing and trying to figure out how to navigate all that. And it's pretty interesting to see that in this setting. So I get why Danny Boyle and Alex Garland kind of wanted to go this route. I like that they went back and scaled down the movie, because I was thinking it's going to be like a global thing and it might become a bit action heavy. So I'm glad they kind of brought it back down to earth and said, let's just focus on this little area. Let's focus on this part of the UK and focus on one family. And that did a lot of justice. I'm interested to see how they broaden it if the film does well enough to be able to see how much more we can get out of this world. But from a film perspective, it's not what I thought I wanted, but I'm kind of happy to see what we got. So let's talk about a little bit in more depth about what the plot was and what we thought did work, maybe some things that didn't work. I'm going to go back to you, Marco, as you kind of were layering on some of the plot points. So what do you feel didn't really work for you in this movie?
I think what didn't work, and what probably might not work for some other people, is, and I mean, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but the sudden shift in the middle of the movie, it really does start off with Spike and his dad going on, sort of a
rite of passage.
A rite of passage. Yeah, thank you, James. A rite of passage for his son, who is 12, and even some of the villagers are saying like he's too young, he's supposed to wait till he's 15 or whatnot. And they go through this through this rite of passage, which goes terribly wrong. Then they come back, and then shit happens, and then Spike goes on his own with his mom, for a mission that I'm going to wait for spoilers because I'm trying to keep this spoiler free. But there's no other way to talk about it. And it becomes sort of like a different movie. Like it's sort of like the first act of the movie is sort of like a thin veneer of what the movie really is. And then Spike goes on his real rite of passage. And at first it kind of took me a while to kind of like really get used to that. But once you get more deeper into the story and into his adventures, venturing away from the village with his mom and, making his own kills without the assistance of his dad and surviving on his own, you kind of get used to it. And you're like, oh, you kind of forget that you were watching a total different movie at the beginning. And I've even read some of the, criticisms that's one of the major criticisms of the movie is the fact that it sort of does an about face there and becomes something else. But I like that because really what we see in the trailers is what we see in the first act primarily. We don't really see much of the rest except for little tidbits. But it's still I liked it, but it's still I feel it's like one of the weak points of the movie because I don't think some major audiences or general audiences, are gonna really like go for that. They're gonna go in expecting something and introduced to something, and then getting kind of a B story, if you will, and saying like what the hell am I doing? So I feel like that kind of hinders the movie a little bit.
Well, I think that was really just like that beginning part is really just to kind of show you how the world is developed, right? It's just kind of showing you, hey, this is the world they live in now. And it's not meant to like, I don't want to say build story because that sounds like it's like rudimentary or something, but it's really just to kind of show you, hey, these guys are kind of crazy. Like there's alphas out there. There's like, these zombies that roll around on the ground. Like there's just different types of zombies. Just kind of introduce you to everything. And then the kid is just going through, getting from point A to point B, right, is really what the rest of the story is about. But it's really that first act is just to kind of show you where they're at in life, or like where their community is, like what they have to do to kind of just go and forage things and go through that stuff. So I feel like I get what you're saying, but like they kind of have to show you somehow. And yeah, it's a little bit too much different, but
the real meat of the story is that second half. Ultimately it's one of my favorite genres, guys. It's a coming of age tale.
Who would have
Spike?
known?
Yeah, in disguise. And it really shows you Spike's group. Spike's the main character, which is also not advertised in these trailers at all either. Because he's not as well known. Although he was in a Netflix show, apparently it was really good. So
he does really well too.
Yeah,
he does,
I mean, you see his journey from the beginning where he's super scared and he doesn't understand, but then by the end he understands a little bit more about life and like life and death and what it means and what it takes to do the actions and what actions you do basically lead to certain events and such. So.
I think it's more like the journey for him, right? Because he's as we're all kind of talking about this, it's all like James said, it is definitely a coming of age film. You don't expect that, but I think for Spike specifically, he's at first it's like this is your path, this is what you got to do, but then he's realizing this is not what he wants to do. He's not like his dad. He wants to do. He's caring, so he's trying to take care of his mom, and he's figuring himself out, right? And so throughout this whole film, he's not the best at this. He's not the smartest in some situations. He's a bit overconfident like his dad in some situations as well. But as he's kind of going through the whole journey, we're watching him kind of understand what his role is in this, and then near the end, try to figure out how he can carve his own path in this world. So. Yeah, I mean, definitely. So we've all hit on the fact that this film is definitely not what we were expecting it to be, but it doesn't sound like we're against that. So let's talk a bit more. Let's talk about some of the characters. I know there's some spoilers. We're trying to tease around plot points, but I feel like we can talk a little bit about some of the characters and what we felt they brought to it. So I'm going to actually start with you, Mikey, and I'm going to ask your opinion on Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, Jamie, as Spike's father. What did you think about what he brought to this film?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't bother me that he wasn't the main character. I kind of like that Spike has his way to kind of go through everything like that. And really, honestly, I wasn't expecting like the event that happens that kind of takes Spike on this, like, I don't know, bad decision, quote unquote, bad decision that he makes to kind of take his mom on this journey, right? I mean,
what event are you talking about?
I mean, he's got a girlfriend on the side, basically, and
Oh,
And
that's
Spike kind of figures
that
out
was
about
shocking
that.
you, Mikey. Have you seen him in
That was
Kraven
just
the
one
Hunter?
of probably many flings too.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, he's
got a
kind of thrown into the
16 pack,
world.
Mikey. We've seen it. Remember the lion mane? In the lion mane, man? He ain't fucking around, Mikey.
But
I
that
saw
Act
that
1
too,
really
and I
kind of
said-
showed how the community took Jamie in. Like, he's kind of like the figure, right? He knows everybody. They allowed him to take his son out to this like coming of age, or not coming of age, but this
Kind of like a ritual, kind of
ritual. Yeah,
rite of
you
passage
know,
kind of thing.
Passage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
rite of passage. That's what we've been calling it. Yeah.
Everybody does it when
and-
they're a teenager, I guess, or something.
Yeah, and they said it's
Yeah,
about
we all
15
going
is
out
when they
there.
normally do it, and they're allowing him to do that. And he comes back and he's telling these grandiose stories about how Spike did all these kind of different acts, and Spike's like, "What the hell? I didn't do any of that stuff here." And so it just kind of shows
I
that
feel
he's
like
like
that was like
really proud of his son, right? He's trying
yeah.
to talk him up.
Yeah.
And so he seems like a pretty cool guy. And then, you know, obviously the stuff I just tagged for is that kind of takes a turn, and it kind of makes Spike kind of feel a different way, and kind of puts him on the journey for the second half of the movie, or the second act of the movie. So I feel like he's kind of a
'cause
pivotal
he's-
one, and it's
I
really
think it's
good
'cause he-
look into the character.
It's because like Spike sees his dad as a certain way, and then he realizes that his dad is hiding a lot of things from him, right?
Mhm.
I think that just kind of disgusts him, and like he loves his mom so much that he's like, I got to find a way, and that's this path is like I'm gonna go after this doctor, basically. Yeah, I mean, it kind of
His dad basically like represents like traditionalism. Like he's very traditionalist, very like what the village does, what they've been doing for these past years, and
Yeah.
that ain't Spike.
Yeah, and it's like he finds out there's some going. I mean, there's you could even see in why maybe Jamie has to do this. Why, you know, there's justifications in a way, I guess, but
He's protecting his son to some extent, and he knows that his son's a bit, you know, he's a little sensitive, not in a bad way. He's still,
Yeah.
you know,
we don't know the whole
he's still
story.
He's young,
Honestly,
right?
we don't know what's going on. Him and Rosie or whatever her name is, but
Right. Well, speaking about the lead lady in the film, let's James, I'm going to go to you and let's talk about a little on Isla, Jodie Comer's character, I should say.
yeah,
What
man,
did you think about what she brought to this film?
she's awesome, dude. We saw her last year in The Bike Riders. Now we see her in this movie, and I think she's a great actress. I really felt for her character. She's going through a sickness that is making her mind and meant. You know, she's not always there, and you can kind of figure out what's going on. Honestly, kind of early on, but strong character. The second half of the movie, it's really a mother son relationship kind of film at that point going forward. And it's really sweet, Spike's relationship with her. And I thought, you know, she makes a pretty difficult choice at the end as well. I thought it was really beautiful. So,
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't so sure about her character when we were introduced to her, and I was like, oh, she's just playing this lady, like this angry lady.
and I was like, great.
Yeah.
Another woman yelling down the stairs. All right.
I mean, that's how she was introduced, at least. But as we kind of got onto it, and especially there's a scene kind of midway through their journey in the film, she does some actions that I don't know if she actually does remember what she did or not. But
Oh, yeah.
it was like a telltale of like she's more aware and more capable than
Then you think.
than you think. And as we kind of go and progress to the story itself, she becomes a much more fully realized character. And
I think that was
to your point. It was
more of a realization that she has a motherly instinct still. And
That's
something
what I was
that you
thinking
can-
too.
You can never get rid of. So,
right.
especially
Would you guys
when
would like the
Daddy's
just having like a flashback or a dream scene where they show how she was before she was sick?
No,
I would have appreciated that really myself.
I don't think you somewhat see it when she thinks she's talking to Jamie in the
Right.
field, and she's kind of somewhat normal. So I think that's
No, but
kind of the
I
moment.
agree with Mikey though. Like having, or at least having Spike remember something, like a memory
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd want to see more than what we got, because like James said, the fact that she's kind of just telling the story and you're sitting in those memories with her, I felt was much more impactful than doing a flashback and having to see the relationship or seeing the part where she talks about her as a kid with her father. And like I think it was described pretty well, that it gives you the imagery to feel a connection to her.
Okay, we
That's
get
right.
it, Mikey. Come on, let's go, Mikey. Let's go. Come on.
I'm out. I'm out. I can't talk about this anymore.
I was like, Mom, sorry, that's just my opinion, you son of a bitch.
There is also another character, Ray Fiennes, who's in here, who is shown in the trailer,
Great character.
but he's not as prevalently shown in the movie. His name is Dr. Ian Kelson. And by that, he is a doctor, and a little bit of a spoiler. Part of the story is that they're going to find the doctor, which is Ray Fiennes' character. Mikey, I'm gonna get your opinion on what you thought of Dr. Kelson, Ray Fiennes, and what you felt when you introduced him.
Well, it's another fake out, right? Because I feel like the trailer kind of shows him as like a bad guy, almost the villain of the movie, if you will, other than zombies. And he comes off as more of like a empathetic character, not only for humans but also for the infected, right? So he's building these huge shrines over the years, and everybody thinks he's weird and kind of doing rituals and stuff, but it's really just to honor the dead. And
I mean, Mikey, that is strange, though. Like, let's not.
He's lost his mind a little bit, right?
It's almost like a lesson. I mean,
yeah.
He's embracing like the situation he's in. He's in this like whole community that's like blocked off, right?
It's crazy at first, but how else, like in a world where you've lost, or at least in a situation where you've lost everything, like how else are you gonna honor people? He probably doesn't know how to draw. I mean, that's the only way he probably knows how to honor people. He knows like make a shrine
of their bones.
Of bones, I guess.
Okay,
he doesn't draw this motherfucker right here.
That's the one way to go
it's
about
also
it.
to show
because
like
in
how
the villains they draw things like what their job title is. I was like, I can't do that, so that's obviously not my job.
He's a doctor, so bad handwriting. So
basically.
No, but what I'm saying is, yes, he's crazy, but there's his crazy, which is pretty mellow, and then there's Jimmy crazy, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on. But there are two sides of the spectrum, and his crazy is calm demeanor and empathetic, like I was saying beforehand. So yes, crazy, but in a way where he can help people and still kind of be himself and still kind of just be okay with his outcome, whether it be death, life, or whatever.
Yeah, Ray Fiennes was a great character, or great pick to play this character, because he's feeling like that level of sincerity of what he's doing. He's there trying to honor the people that have died, and also comes off as extremely scary and weird to anybody that sees him. Like, there's a balance there that you can go far one way or the other, and he definitely nails that, and you kind of connect with him.
He's a scene stealer, man. Honestly,
yeah, definitely.
I really liked his character. I like how it was not what we expected, basically, and he's a very actually like kind soul. I really like that part.
Yeah,
the fake guy was great. He's the only character in the movie that sees the rage zombies as sick people and infected, and not as monsters. He knows that it's not their fault that they are what they are. They just so happen to pick the short straw and get infected. And he, even through his actions, like, he doesn't kill them. He'll only stop them and immobilize them. That's it, with his darts. But if you notice, he'll never kill them, which is crazy.
Oh, we've never seen him kill one
in a good way.
Who knows?
I mean, he's being tried to be killed a couple times, so he was. I don't know.
You were like, well, he had a different opinion on the mudbloods and the Harry Potter.
Because he says he'd come face to face with the Alpha many times. And
3 years, but he'd been living in like peace with them in the area for 3 years. He said,
right?
So. Samson,
yeah,
who reminded me of Nabil for some fucking
right, dude. I saw the whole time. I was like,
dude, I was like,
somebody say something.
Buff naked Nabil. I was like, what the
fuck, bro? I was like, damn.
Did you guys have any thoughts on anybody else as far as characters are concerned, or
just a little more on Spike, man? I can't emphasize just how well he carries the movie. And like James says, like, we didn't even know he was going to be like the main character of the movie, but surprise, he is. And he actually goes on this journey with his mom and learns more from that journey than he ever did really from his dad. He obviously uses the skills he learned from his dad, but really, as far as like anything, life-changing that turns him, that turns him into the person he is, he learns it on this journey, essentially trying to help his mom, get through this tough ordeal. Like that is like I would assume like his big antagonist of this whole movie is just trying to beat this thing and trying to help his mom. And I think the outcome is perfect too, because it's a huge life lesson that he learns, and really just learns to fend off for himself, kill the zombies without any trouble. Whereas before with his dad, he was like missing his shots. He even complained about it and said like, I wasn't that good. I was afraid. And here he is on his own, just, murking these guys left and right. I mean, he still misses some of his shots, but he does an incredible job becoming, this frail kid and really becoming like in a point, like a man at the end, an adult at the end, being able to fend off for himself and, journey out without, any supervision. And he does well at selling that as well, too. Completely different at the end of the movie than he was at the beginning. A lot more confident, a lot more able to, be himself and speak his mind. And it's really hard to find like young performers that can do that and pull that off. And I think he did a really great job.
He started as a boy and left a man. That's what I heard there.
Pretty much.
All right. So we've talked a lot about the character and the drama of this film, but at the core of it, it's supposed to be a horror film. So let's talk a little bit about the horror elements of this movie. And I'm going to go to our horror expert here, James, and get his take on, did you feel like it falls into the category of a zombie film or?
Yeah.
I
mean, yeah, it does. I guess you can mix that in with the overall look. It does have that. It was shot on iPhones, but with like, pretty advanced lenses and stuff like that.
Right.
Definitely has a much grungier feel to it all. And I think there are times, especially in that first half, where you get more of that kind of like getting chased down kind of a feel to it all, where there's a scene where Spike and Jamie run across a pack of them with an alpha that's kind of waiting up on the hill. They
kind of had a little bit of fear, like anxiety of like something's about to happen, right?
Pretty cool. Like, and they're like, oh shit, we got to get out of here. They run back to that house. And they're always kind of, and even like there's a scene where Spike is sleeping and one is kind of crawling up on him. These bloater looking big fatty ones that eat worms and all this crap. And it works. It's not like this. I would say probably it's the least scariest of the three, in my opinion. Felt like there's more moments. I don't feel like
there was any even like jump scares. I think there's one scene.
There's maybe one. Maybe one. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't remember. I didn't think it was too intense though compared to it.
Yeah.
You get the one when they first see the crawler sneaking up on them, and then you have the one in the field where
that one's pretty cool. I like that one.
Stands up and he looks like
the
me
one
after
that everyone
Friday
thought
night.
was fucking Cillian Murphy. Like that Cillian Murphy.
That looks like Cillian Murphy to me. Yeah,
this guy blows 75 pounds. My God, I mean, Janelle was like, "That was CG, right?" I was like, "No, I think he's that skinny." She's like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "I know, it's pretty bad." So. But yeah, overall, it was okay horror wise. But like I said, like this movie, expectations are all over the place and different on this one, in my opinion, and what came out of it. So honestly, it was kind of nice to find out that it was more like the horror was kind of like the secondary thing to it all. So.
Sure.
It did amp up the gore though. I mean, they're like ripping people's heads
the gore's
off.
like
intestines and stuff.
Yeah, it was gross.
Oh, the little iPhone shots, the 360 shot. They're like,
headshot. Yeah, when they shoot the arrow in the head of the zombies, that was pretty cool to do that. I mean, I've heard some people didn't really like that, but I did. I think it was pretty cool to kind of see it. Like,
would you guys like to have to shoot these just like with normal cameras?
I think I don't know.
Honestly, I'm
at
at that point where
it didn't
I'm
bother me, dude. Truthfully,
yeah,
honestly, I'm at that point where like I kind of get the gimmick already. Like, can I just get some fucking lighting in this fucking scene?
Yeah, I think that's
a little straining my eyes in the day scene. I'm like, how the
film.
fuck can I not see somebody in the fucking day scene?
Yeah. I guess it does add that kind of extra element of mystery of like, am I supposed to like see nothing? Am I expected to see something? Like, what are we seeing here? So
I think it helps with the horror and the uneasiness. I agree with you guys. It doesn't overstay its welcome, but when it's there, it comes at you full force. Like even when you see the zombies running the distance down the hill, like they're flailing everywhere. It looks pretty freaking creepy. And then there's of course the alpha that we mentioned numerous times. Like he's a powerful force to be reckoned with. Like completely unstoppable. Like once you run into the alpha, you're pretty much cooked unless you find a hiding spot that he can't break through. So I think it's well balanced, with the story and then the horror element in the background. And when it comes at you, it's there,
Yeah, it works though. That's a good scene too, where he's chasing through the train.
That shot really well. All right, I think that's about it for the main part of this review. We will talk more about some of the specific plot points in the spoiler section. But before we do, let's give our rating of the movie and if we'd recommend it. I'm going to start with you, Mikey, again. What did you rate this film and would you recommend it?
I initially went with 3, but I think I'm going to go with 3.5. talking with you guys here, kind of revisiting some of the stuff. I think it's a little better than I thought it was when we started. So I'll go 3.5, and definitely, if you like the other two, you might as well finish off with this one here. So definitely recommend watching it out and checking it out.
All right. How about you, James? What were your rating of this movie?
Well, mine was initially 3.5 as well. Actually, well, more than it still is 3.5. It's 3.5.
Okay, 3.5. Marco, how about yourself?
You know, I really like this movie, and thinking about it and talking about it with you guys, I'm liking it even more. So I give it 4 stars.
Yeah, my original review was 3.5 as well, but talking through it more, yeah, I liked it a lot more than I realized. So 4 stars for me, and definitely a recommendation. All right, so we're going to jump into spoilers. If you haven't seen the film, we highly recommend you go ahead and watch it in the theaters so you can see all the fun little bits that happen at the end, and then come back to hear our thoughts on the spoiler section of the plot. Skip forward a little bit if you'd like, and you'll hear what we're going to be previewing next for our next pod. Okay, going into the spoiler section, let's talk about the ending that we are tiptoeing around, Isla's death. So I'm going to go to you, Marco, because you seem to want to talk a little bit more about it anyways. How did you think they handled the revelation, I guess, of the fact that Isla had cancer and everybody kind of knew, except for Spike, of course, and how she met her fate?
I think that it was handled beautifully. I think that the reveal was a big deal for Spike, really. It was more so for him than for us. Everybody, we all knew what it was. It was fucking.
I was like,
it was fucking
no,
cancer.
I mean, hold on. Nibble probably didn't know.
Yeah, and
He was just like, what kind of black magic you got? Cancer?
Even
She
to
was
a
the
point.
Outlaws as well? My God. Is that why she had the baby?
even that's I think that's why she helped bring life. I think she
knew
could
she
tell
was
she
about
was
to get
leaving
that,
this
yeah.
world, so she wanted to bring some life, a life for a life.
When I saw the nose
That was
bleeding, I was
Getting
like,
real deep right there. All right.
Yeah,
I was like, this ain't gonna happen.
but I think in a way, even Spike, I think, knew but needed to hear it. I think he wasn't a reality for him until he actually heard it spoken.
Honestly,
And that
do you
was a
think he
huge-
knows what it even was, really?
I don't think he
I
knew
think
what
he did-
cancer was, but I think he knew that she was dying.
Because he was like, what medicine do we need for it? And the guy was like,
There's no
there's
medicine.
none, Harry
No,
Potter.
because because he even asked his dad, "Is it cancer?" At the
Did he
beginning.
ask him that?
And,
I don't remember that.
I'm pretty sure
Remember
he
that.
did.
I remember
And and his dad didn't answer.
I think all
he
he
didn't
asked his
answer him.
dad, he asked his dad, like, is she dying?
Yeah, I think.
Okay,
I remember
yeah,
that.
Yeah, he's
dying. He
he's
didn't
gonna
answer.
die, and then he's like, I'm not gonna answer that or something.
So that's why I'm saying, like, I think he it became reality for him once he saw and accepted it, and it I think it was well because it showed Spike that it was something he could not beat. There's something he could not defeat, and he had to face it.
Yeah.
And I think that scene with her, saying goodbye to him, and I think it was beautiful, man. I think it was handled very well.
This is a nice,
And it was-
it's a nice scene.
Yeah, and it finalizes Spike's transformation into the person he is. This was the big ordeal that he had to go through, facing the fact that his mom was going to die, that there was nothing he could do, and that death is just a part of life, and it's just about what we do in this life and how we appreciate the things in life is what makes it a wonderful experience. And it's a lesson he could only have learned, going through this. Obviously, maybe not going through, across the land like that, but going through this and experiencing it with his mom by his side. I think it was handled perfectly.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
It is weird that he just kind of comes back with the skull and he's like, put
I
him
was
up
going to
there.
say, do we think that was a little too soon that he's like,
I
here's
would
your
have been
mother's
like,
skull? Put it
yeah,
up.
but that's kind of the
But he's
that's
drugged
kind of
at
his
that point,
It's
thing.
too, right?
symbolism, yeah, but
I think it was wearing off. He wakes up in the morning, right?
Yeah. But
Right.
again,
But he might not already been
they-
like all there,
Yeah, that's
they
true.
have no other way to really remember their dead or create, like, there's no monuments. It's the only monument they could ever have, and so it's in a way like
It's
a
a
monument.
creepy
to my mom.
fucking.
It is.
It's
It
the-
is.
it's the bone
abnormal to
temple.
us. Yeah, it's abnormal to us, but in a world where they have limited resources and materials, it's like, what else?
Nah,
are they gonna do?
motherfucker. No, that would be fucking weird
Dig a
even now.
hole.
I'm like, But I like the fact that Spike, he's the kind of person that will give other people chances, because like his dad has a story about Dr. Kelson. He's like, man, we saw him once, and he was casually laying these people out in lines, and he waved at us like it was nothing, and we ran out of there like we're never going to see that guy again. But then Spike is like, man, we don't know the whole story though, you know. So,
yeah, and again, those are things that Spike can only learn on his own, and that's what makes his journey incredible. Is the fact that he's like, I got to see these things for myself. You know,
it may also backfire on him. Maybe he's going to start trusting the wrong people.
Oh,
it could.
That's a good point. Since it's your namesake, James, what was your thought on the interesting ending of this film that came about, and the reintroduction of Jimmy?
Yeah, I thought Jamie was that kid in the beginning, by the way.
Oh, really?
The whole time.
Oh.
I kept thinking, I was like, is that the same kid? I was like, fuck, he lots of blonde hair, I guess, somehow. I mean, some people have blonde hair when they're younger
that's
and
true.
they grow up. And
I can see that.
They kind of made it seem that way, that Jamie was the kid. Yeah.
Because I was like, man, they haven't brought it back up since the prologue, I guess, right? Or like, who the hell that kid was?
Somebody showed him. Yeah.
And he's almost about the same age, I guess.
Yeah, roughly. Because I was like, okay, if it's about time, like that kind of matches up. It was weird, man. It kind of tonally shifts the movie. It turns into a Danny Boyle film,
it's
real
a very
strong
controversial
Danny Boyle film.
Yeah,
like people are very split on this, how the film truly ended.
I think it's because we're not from England. Because if you knew more, I looked into it more. So like,
oh yeah, I know the guy. There's a whole documentary
Jimmy is
on him.
Based on like Jimmy Savile, right? Who was like a huge popular like TV host and like DJ, media personality, and he died in 2011. And then afterwards, they found out he had like over 300 like sexual allegations against like ton of fucking people and kids and shit, and it was like disgusting.
Jeez.
So he's dressed like that guy apparently, and his look with the hair, it looks like that guy. But I guess I was Sunday Movies was talking about it. Like there's a chance they never heard about it in that universe though, because they would have grown up still watching that guy
beforehand. Yeah.
So maybe they still looked up to him, like they're still watching Teletubbies back in the day, and you know that's about the time and still airing.
Yeah,
so
everything's frozen in time.
You know, they come in. If you looked up the name, everybody on there in his cult has the name Jimmy in their name. It's fucking hilarious. If you look at the names of everybody in his cult, it's like Jimmy Batty, Jimmy Bobby, Jimmy. It's like, oh my fucking. I was like, this is a little too much for me right now. But he comes in at the end and he saves Spike, and it looks like that's where we're gonna start off the sequel. Honestly, like he's maybe gonna get in with this cult, but you can already tell something's off. First off, because Jack O'Connell, was in Sinners, right? And already then I was like, I don't trust him in that movie either. So, and then he's in this one, and like something's off with this guy again, right? So I was like, this guy's just a bad guy forever. So something's weird. I mean, the cross it's upside down. First off, so that's also like a telling sign something's a little off. So I was like, oh god. So it was weird.
Besides the way they're dressed, you know.
I mean, yeah, the tracksuits.
I mean, it's
tracksuits and shit.
That's how they dress.
Nibbles like, man, the fuck is it Pumas? Maybe the Pumas.
Man, that's
they
that was
legit
like that in 2000.
They legit were enjoying themselves. The contrast, whereas the dad,
I've seen this on The Walking Dead before.
Yeah, Spike's dad was more cautious, and we had to kill for survival. Jamie and his cult, they were just having a blast, just murking these zombies left and right like it was nothing. And
yeah, I mean, they're pretty skilled. I won't lie. So they've been. It looks like he found a family somehow, right?
Possibly.
Yeah, possibly. And I think that's where probably Spike's dad's advice and upbringing is going to come to help him out and be like,
I wonder if they're aware
this
of
is the shit I was warning you about, type of thing.
I wonder if they're aware of them, because they do see signs of it early on with like the carving, and there's some graffiti on the wall that's like Jimmy's coming or something.
Yep.
So
there was. I know that he mentioned.
I was like,
Spike's dad, Jamie, mentions that there are other people living on the land, and they're
aware of it, right? Because
they're aware of what they're going through, so they're not the same as what their islands.
Is that why he wants him to see that body? Remember, he's like,
hey, come in, we'll just see like it can get brutal out here. Yeah,
this is a dog eat dog world.
Right. I mean, this so that ending is supposed to, at least per Danny Boyle, it's supposed to lead into the next film, The Bone Temple, because they were shot back to back. So I'm going to just ask you, Mikey, since we haven't really right. So what do you want to see from this film? I mean, what are you kind of expecting based off of how this ended? Do you want to see more of what we've already seen, or maybe some more of the fanciful action that occurred in like the last 5 minutes of the movie?
Looking at the title of the movie, though, it's the Bone Temple. So I thought it was going to go back to the Doctor, right?
Very fine.
So it's really going to be
sequel too, Mikey.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it's just going to be exploration of the people that lived on the island without any escape. They're all going to be a little bit crazy, but you'll probably meet some other people. I'm assuming they do stick with the Jimmies, at some point in that movie, but I don't think it's going to be revolving around them the whole time. He's going to get burned and then go and see the Doctor, and they're going to kind of expand that side of things, I think, at least.
I think it's going to be about Jamie trying to find his son, and it's a redemption movie.
Well, could be.
Could be
anything.
I think it's gonna look more kind of like what we saw at the end, where it's where this is just my theory, where this one is compared more to the first one. I think then the next one is going to be compared more to like 28 Weeks Later, where it's like action packed like that. It's not really as scary. It's more like suspenseful because of the Jimmy cult and how good they are at disposing the zombies and how much they enjoy it, and their style of fighting too. It's very parkour.
I hope it's not. It's probably about Jamie going there, and then slight spoiler, they already announced that once again, what's up with the fucking Jim names? Fucking Cillian Murphy's character, who I believe his name is Jim for some fucking reason.
Yep, it is Jim.
It's in the second movie. He was already spotted in it, so like he's in the movie. So it's probably gonna be a smaller role, but he's in the movie somehow. But
it would be cool to see him.
I'm like, no.
What if he is the cult?
Oh, it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool to see him and Jamie team up for a little bit.
He's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm Oppenheimer."
He's like, "I'm the guy from the first movie."
He's like, "I got hit by a bike 28 years ago. I woke up and my dong was out too."
It was.
I think it's gonna be about Jamie going out there, and then I think he's gonna find the Doctor. Mikey, honestly, I think that's what's gonna happen. He's gonna go to the Doctor first because he knows that's the last place he went, and then maybe the Doctor is like, "Hey, maybe I'll help you out," because he had some kind of connection to Spike.
So Jamie and the Doctor versus the Jimmies.
I don't. Yeah, maybe. And then they run into Jim.
Pretty much.
They found out Jim's been in a cage. He's like, "It's because my name's Jim. They kept me in here."
They're all wearing James masks for no apparent reason.
He's like, "We all got dolphin tattoos. It's weird out here, man."
So, any final thoughts, guys, on the movie, or anything else you wanted to share from what we haven't discussed yet?
A zombie having a baby is weird. That's all I gotta say.
It was gross.
Yeah. What does that mean? Like, because he was born uninfected. It's like, is that a path to?
I'm assuming she was
like,
infected as pregnant, and then gave birth to this baby, and Dr.
I assumed it was Samson's baby, right? That's why he was going so crazy.
Yeah,
maybe. Kept thinking like all he wanted back was the kid.
Yeah,
but then that doesn't make sense because then like she looked like she was about to eat the kid. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case, but I do think that that's the thorough line about the placenta kind of is protecting the baby, and that's why it's not infected. Which, okay, that's an interesting thing to say.
Maybe that kid is the key now. Like you can get a cure from that kid somehow.
That's what I'm saying. Is it going to lead to a potential cure because she was born from an infected and was not infected? So,
all right,
and we have a doctor. Who knows?
One thing I mentioned the way that the island is set up, I thought was really cool. With the causeway. The water. I thought that was a unique way of like, oh, that's how they like stay safe. I thought that was really cool.
A natural moat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the scene where they're running back, I liked how that was shot. It was almost like dreamlike with like the stars and
floating on the water.
That was, yeah, that was one of the better shots. Oh yeah, I liked it a lot. So.
And I mean, lastly, I think as imperfect as Jamie was, obviously he had his faults. He was just trying to protect his son and keep him safe and teach him the life lessons that he knew that would hopefully one day help him when he grows up. I really appreciated that.
Look, his wife was dying, all right, and he just needed something on the side to get him through things. That's all.
Well, they obviously show him like super distraught about stuff, right? So like,
yeah,
he sees the baby and he's like, "Oh my god!" And then he runs out there like, "Where are you at, Spike?"
You put a fucking Mamba, bro. All right, that is the end of the podcast. We appreciate you all for tuning in. Marco, let them know how they can reach us.
You can listen and follow us on your preferred podcast platform. We are everywhere. For a convenient link to all our social media channels, visit linktree/moviepalspod. That's linktr.ee/moviepalspod. And remember, smash that subscribe button and you'll never miss an episode in the next 28 years.
Plus, catch us on TikTok for sneak peeks of upcoming episodes and more exciting movie content. Follow us at Movie Pals Pod.
And make sure to tune in for our next episode, podcast episode number 202, where we will be reviewing Marco's likely future favorite film of the decade, Superman 2025.
Thanks to Bill. Until then, this is James.
Marco?
Nabil.
And Mikey.
Have a great one.
Marco?